Welcome back to the Better Lives podcast with Central Willamette. I'm your host, Caitlin.
And I'm Eric.
And today we wanted to talk to you about a super easy budgeting method. As you know, our goal here at Central Willamette is to help strengthen your financial lives. And we just want to share a budgeting method that can help you out. We know how easy it is to get off track with your spending.
Yeah, today we're going to talk a little bit about the envelope method a little bit more. Caitlin's going to share some tips and tricks on how to better manage money through the envelope methods. You want to share some of the spending struggles you might have had in the past?
Yeah, so when I was probably 18, 19, I had just got my first job and I was a college student. And I remember just spending all of my money on shopping and eating out, going on trips with my friends, and I didn't really have a plan for my money. I wasn't intentional with it. And so I really got into budgeting. I never did this method specifically for myself, but looking back and learning more about it, it would have been a great idea for me.
I personally don't use this one either, but just kind of going over and doing a little bit more investigation on what the envelope method is, I feel like I should incorporate some of these tools into my daily spending just because the same way, I have an actual dollar amount that I can spend every month, but I don't really pay attention to how I spend it. And sometimes breaking down and just paying attention to where that money goes is pretty powerful information. So you can kind of determine whether you're spending properly or just where the waste is, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll talk about the basics, just what it is and how you know if it's the right method for you.
Yeah, why don't you go into some of those basics for some of us who aren't really familiar with the envelope method?
Yeah, for sure. So for traditional budgeting, you can do that with a pen and paper or an Excel spreadsheet. This one's a little bit different. So you will decide how much you want to spend in each category. So it could be groceries, gas for your car, things like that. And you will physically take that money out of the bank. You can do it once a paycheck if you're paid twice a month, or just once a month if you're paid once a month. And then you'll put that cash into labeled envelopes. And throughout the month, you will spend the money in the envelopes, but only what's in there for each category. So once one envelope is empty, you are done spending in that category for the month.
So why don't you give me some examples of some of those categories and envelopes and how that would look in a day-to-day? So say I went and had my envelope set up, and then I wanted to get some coffee. How would I go about using this envelope method to monitor that?
Yeah, so if you know you like to spend money on coffee, let's say you want to spend $50 a month max on your coffee. So you take $50 out of your bank and then write on an envelope coffee. And then you'd bring that with you. Let's say you get a $5 latte, right? You can get 10 lattes a month. So you kind of have to be intentional on when you're getting them. If you get them twice a day for a whole week, you're done in a week. So it's really just about being super intentional and physically knowing where your money's going.
Yeah, so the big thing I took away from this is once you have those categories set up, that's kind of the big thing, is identifying what you want and using that regularly. So for me personally, I think the 5 categories I would use, I would try to narrow it down to 5, would be my housing and utilities. That'd be one envelope. My food. For me, food would be going out or eating at home or groceries. I just have a food category in general for anything that I purchase that way. And then my car, gas, and insurance would be another one envelope. And then entertainment and savings. I don't think I really need one for savings, because savings I kind of just put away and don't take out of it. Well, I try not to anyway. So I think I would need a 5th category for that. But I would definitely, what do you think would be something I could add to that?
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like for savings, typically you'd just transfer that into a separate account at your bank. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I think the envelopes are more for like spending. So you're totally right about that. For my categories, I know that I typically spend a lot of money, groceries, gas, entertainment. So that could be going out to the movies or going shopping. Those are really my big 3 categories. I would probably include coffee and groceries just because, some people like to skip breakfast and get a coffee at Starbucks, so that's totally fine. But yeah, Eric, your categories are great and they're really similar to mine. And honestly, you just have to build your categories based on the things that you know you'll buy. Like if you know that you're not a coffee drinker, you probably wouldn't have a coffee category.
And these categories are subjective depending on what they mean to you. I mean, entertainment to me could be something different to Caitlin. So for me, coffee would actually go in the entertainment section because food is where I cover my coffee, because I actually do buy as much as I can from a grocery store and I grind my own beans. So I have a category for that where I, it's something I'm going to do all the time. And then if I want to go out to get like a Dutch Bros or a Starbucks, then I'll pull that entertainment just because, again, it's, not necessarily entertaining me that day, but it's more of a treat. So I guess treats and entertainment would be kind of under one category for me.
I feel like for a lot of people too, like coffee and maybe going out for drinks is like social spending, like friends and stuff. So that would be considered entertainment, I suppose.
Yeah, getting out and actually talking to real people is nice rather than sitting at home and making it by myself. So I was kind of coming up with struggling with some categories. So I asked the good old AI ChatGPT, and the categories they came up with, their top 10 categories would be groceries. They separated eating out from their groceries. So their first category is groceries, eating out, gas transportation, utilities, personal care. I think that's a good one to have in there as well.
Like personal care, like clothes?
Including things like toiletries, cosmetics, haircuts, gym memberships, and supplements, etc. Then we have entertainment, clothing, household items. Household items would be great just to separate it from
like
actual
toilet paper and paper
exactly
towels and
like cleaning supplies, pots, pans, dishes, all that kind of stuff. I'm not like doing that all the time, but I think it should come out of a separate category from home and utilities and stuff like that. And then they also have a list for savings. But again, as Caitlin and I were talking about, when you don't really want to have an envelope for savings because you kind of want to put it in a place where you can't grab it and take money from it. Add as much as you can to it, but take as little as you can from that. And then they actually suggest having a miscellaneous. Maybe that would be my fifth category, is miscellaneous of things that you just don't quite know, for those unexpected one-offs. Maybe
things always come up, day to day in the month. So.
As soon as you solve a problem, another one comes up. So yeah, that's exactly what happens. Yeah. So miscellaneous would probably be my fifth envelope. And I'm not really a cash person. So
you should be.
I know. I should carry more cash, but I lose things. And if you lose a wallet, you can replace a debit card easily. Just go down to one of our branches and they'll print one off for you if you bank with Central Alignment. But if I lose my cash, there's no going anywhere to print that off.
That's a good point. So you can't really replace that very easily.
I am very clumsy, but I like this method because if I did this electronically and just created these categories and put, pulls in there, it would actually force me to continually watch that spending daily. And again, it's like balancing your old checkbook. Every time you spent something, you put it in your checkbook so you can remember what's on there. So the set it, forget it kind of thing with the automated tracking of spending through debit cards is easy to forget about it. If you do something on top of that and track and categorize your spending, you're going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be easier to kind of maintain your spending habits.
Yeah. So I want to talk a bit about why this works. And Eric kind of hit the nail on the head there. So there's a whole psychology of cash. If you physically see the money in your hand in the form of cash, you are actually less likely to spend that money. Money in your bank account, on your debit card, it doesn't feel real because you're not holding it in your hand. But if you use cash, you will want to keep that cash.
Totally understandable. I always have a $20 emergency $20 in my wallet, and it's always there because I'm just like, I can't spend that.
Do you ever spend it?
Emergency. Sometimes, not often. I think I replace it probably 3 times a year because again, it's for the emergencies, just in case I show up somewhere and either the credit card machine's not working or
they don't take
card
at all.
Which is super shocking to me. I don't even know what to do with myself when someone says, we don't take card. I'm just like,
well, now I'm like, if I go somewhere and they don't take tap, I'm like, what do you mean you don't tap?
It's like, well, what do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do here. But yeah, so that emergency comes in handy from time to time. Not often, like I said. But yeah, there is something to that. When I see that 20, I'm just like, I got to protect that a little bit more. But again, being digital is not a bad thing because the psychology of it is if you do have a dollar amount, again, money doesn't really mean anything except what you mean it to be. So if you do have a budget and you do know that you put a number on a certain spreadsheet or somewhere and track it, you're going to know that that means money to you, even if it doesn't mean money to anyone else. So it does add a little bit of layer of protection on there and just more thoughts about how you spend.
Yeah. So some really common pitfalls with doing this budget. It can be really easy to go over your budget. If you, let's say you set $100 aside in the month for gas, but you go over that $100 and honestly, you probably would have anyway because maybe you just spend more than that on gas, but you didn't anticipate needing that much. So in that case, you'd have to add more money to your envelope or pull it out of a different category. So if you need $50, you might have to pull it out of your coffee category.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing is like where to put money, where to take it. Because essentially you're supposed to take all your spending money and put it in these categories.
Yeah, anything for spending.
So
Bills just comes out of your account. But
adding money doesn't mean we're getting paid more. It just means you're taking money from different places. Or, if you do have some side hustles or whatnot, which we will be talking about in different podcasts. But side hustles are a great way to increase money. Putting in there, obviously.
For sure.
But just setting realistic expectations on how much you're going to spend. It's, especially today with inflation, the way it's going is things get out of hand a little bit quicker than they used to.
Well, eggs are $5 a dozen.
On average across, if you're lucky, you can find them for $5 now. It's just crazy how expensive things are getting, especially gas too. But again, once it's setting those expectations and then finding ways to take from other stuff, like again, miscellaneous entertainment, stuff like that. That's not essentially, it's not essential, but I guess it's not necessary, but it's kind of essential part of living a happy life. But those are the places you can take away from.
I think it's important to prioritize like spending money on things that make you happy. Because if you just go to work, come home every day, and you don't really do anything to make yourself happy, you're not going to feel like your budget is successful because it's not successfully making you happy.
It's gonna make you feel like you're living to work, not working to live, kind of thing. So
we don't like that.
Yeah.
One other pitfall you might run into is, especially when you first start, you might find that you need more categories than you originally pick out. So like Eric was saying, having a miscellaneous category can be a really good idea for that.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, don't be afraid to adjust these and change those as you're going on. The big takeaway for me is just tracking your spending and then categorizing it however you find the best way to do that, whether it's through the envelope method, tracking on an Excel sheet, or just going through your monthly spends through your statements. I just highly recommend going through and categorizing that kind of stuff.
So one thing to talk about is what to do with leftover cash. So at the end of the month, let's say you have not spend it. Let's say you have $30 left in your groceries envelope. So when you build your budget for next month, you could either leave it in there and maybe only add $170 from your bank account, because if you want $200, you already have $30. Or you could distribute it against your other envelopes, or you could put it back in your savings account at your bank. So like I said earlier, this method can get you to spend less money. So you might actually find that you have some left over and can put that back in your savings account.
That's a great point. Yeah, just because you have the money doesn't mean, like I said, you have to spend it. But, it's great to put it in different places and just a better understanding what to do with it at the end of the month is always a better option than just kind of forgetting about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, anything else to say about this method?
I think so. We hope that you learned a lot about the envelope method, and if this isn't the method for you, we'll talk about lots of other budgeting strategies in this podcast. So
exactly. Even if it is not something, to my opinion, I think cash is a little outdated just because everything's electronic nowadays, but the methods and some of the steps in it are definitely, I took some key takeaways from that, and I should and will incorporate a lot of this more into my life just to better track my own personal spending. For sure.
We want to thank you for joining us today. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Central WCU. If you want to look at more of our podcast, we have a page on our website. You can also send in some feedback or just any episode suggestions there. So we're glad you're following along.
Thanks for joining us again today, guys.
The information provided here is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any financial decisions. The opinions expressed are our own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Central Willamette Credit Union.